Kevin Durant is one of the greatest scorers the NBA has ever seen, but what I love even more about him is the fact that, well, he's never afraid to speak his mind. Whether it's against his on-court rivals, the media, or even fans online, KD never fails to torch people. In today's video, we're going to talk about what happens when people decide to trash talk the Slim Reaper. Joel Embiid is one of those guys who's never shy in expressing his emotions, whether he's sad or super happy. And on certain occasions, Embiid is also known for bringing the heat to his opponents. When he faced off against KD in the Nets for the third time in the 2022 season, the 76ers dominated the game from the tip-off all the way until the final buzzer sounded. But in between the 2 points in time, Embiid said some things to shake up Durant and left an, impression.
And Durant came walking right towards Embiid.
It's not a stretch to say that KD took things personally. And indeed, he never forgot how Embiid looked and talked to him. I mean, when the two squared off in their final regular season matchup of the season, the bad blood between the two instantly resurfaced.
They're going back and forth. They're going back and forth. We've seen this before in the
After the war of words, though, KD had enough of Embiid's mind games, and for the next few quarters, he torched the 76ers and shut them down for good. In the end, Durant responded by dropping a double-double performance to defeat the 76ers by a whopping 29 points, and it's a shame that the two teams couldn't face off in the Eastern Conference Finals because, my goodness, that would have been some spectacular fireworks, especially with Harden in the mix. Anyway, guys, let's check out these next couple of stories when KD went wild against well-known media personalities. A little while ago, Charles Barkley publicly called out Kyrie Irving for portraying reporters as pawns. Now, when the TNT crew interviewed KD after one of their games, KD indirectly supported his teammate's stance by deliberately giving out one-word responses when Sir Charles hit him with questions.
This can really be, to be honest, correct?
Yeah.
After the awkward incident, Michael Rapaport chimed in and came to the aid of Barkley and said, KD seemed deep in his feelings with the crew after the game. Damn it, he's super sensitive about everything. Don't do the interview. Known for actively engaging people on Twitter, KD got back at Rapaport's comments, which eventually led to a full-blown private feud between the two. It got so out of hand that Rapaport and KD exchanged some not safe for work stuff, which also involved some of their family members in their nasty DM war. It was clear that there was no love lost between the two, but fortunately, the cooler heads prevailed and the beef between the two simmered down eventually. KD later apologized for his behavior, and he even bought Rapaport tickets to one of the Nets games as a peace gesture. Here's what KD said about his beef with Rapaport. I use Twitter to engage with fans. I think it's a great way to engage with basketball fans. I happen to take it a little too far. That's what happens sometimes when I get into these basketball debates about what I really love, to play basketball. I don't regret clapping back at anybody or talking to my fans on Twitter. I do regret using my former coach's name in the former organization I played for. That was childish. That was idiotic. All those types of words. I apologize for that. Well, since we briefly talked about Charles Barkley, it's not a secret that KD isn't a big fan of Sir Charles, and vice versa. The TNT anchor has been criticizing KD since the day he left OKC. Barkley recently blasted KD for failing to carry the Nets as they got swept by the Boston Celtics in the first round, and not to anyone's surprise, he went back to his familiar jump the bandwagon narrative to critique KD. Let me tell you something about that championship stuff. I try to tell y'all, all these bus riders, they don't mean anything to me. If you ain't driving the bus, don't go around talking about you a champion. If you are riding the bus, I don't want to hear it. KD heard Barkley's comments loud and clear and tweeted these photos to burn the Chuckster. Well, aside from Sir Charles, Stephen A. Smith has also been a longtime critic of KD, and recently, their beef has resurfaced when Stephen A. called out KD for choosing to go over to Brooklyn in exchange for the success that he had already attained when he was playing with the Warriors by saying, "All I'm saying is that there's going to be people, especially if Golden State wins and Brooklyn doesn't, that are going to look at his choice to join with Kyrie Irving and depart from Steph Curry as opposed to staying with Steph Curry. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's right." Meanwhile, here's KD's spicy response. "Steve, since you decided to use ESPN to push your personal agendas, I'm sure your minions will run with this story for you, but if you believe this is what my career is defined by, then you're a flat-out hater." The two went back and forth on social media, but in the end, Stephen A. Smith defends his stance by saying, "Okay, stop the BS. Religiously, I've been on the record calling you the best in the world. This is not about your game and you know it. We all know you're great and you're a champion. We will celebrate that forever when you're done playing. But right now, you are playing. Chapters are still being written. You're measured by what's taking place at the moment. I'm simply pointing out that you have to win, or else there's going to be a narrative that you don't like. The Nets are your team. Folks will look to you. That's what comes along with greatness, which is what you clearly possess. Do you want to go back and forth? We can do that." Alright guys, enough of these reporters and let's get back on the court where KD became a downright savage right after the Jazz talked some smack to him. According to his teammate Bruce Brown, in a regular season matchup between the two, the Utah Jazz said some not so nice things to KD in hoping that he'll be thrown off his game. However, Brown knew the exact opposite would happen because trash-talking KD is the last thing you want to do. In his words, "You can't talk to him. I don't know why people were talking to him, just don't. Don't get him going. You don't want to get him going." Well, Brown was right all along, because when the Jazz started opening their mouths, the Durantula returned the favor by shutting them up.
Trying to create some space. Durant. Conley came over on a double. Durant. Tie game. Blake Griffin is back. Durant. What a find! Durant. Pull up.
When it was all said and done, KD nearly had a monster triple-double by dropping 37 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. In the post-game interview, Durant said that he welcomes trash talking with open arms as it fuels his game to the next level. "Yeah, it's fun. I just think it's part of the game. I think that's the true essence of the game, is that fun dialogue that goes on around the court. We've all seen it, and playing in the blacktops and in the high school gyms, that conversation around the court is always fun and always positive. I mean, it's always a good vibe, you know? Sometimes I like to indulge in that while I'm playing." We're pretty much aware now that KD is never afraid of trash talk either by sports journalists or his opponents on the court. But this next story is a bit different because in this instance, KD was set off by his former partner in crime. The rift between KD and Russell Westbrook all began when he didn't tell Russ that he'll be opting out of his contract and signing with the 73-win Warriors in the summer of 2016. In his defense, here's KD's thought process when he made that shocking decision to join the Warriors. You hear family a lot. That's just a word sometimes, but this is really a lifestyle here. You can feel it when you walk in the door of the practice facility. Everybody is just together. That's something that I can appreciate as a basketball player and someone who values relationships. I feel really grateful to play for a team like that and play with a bunch of players who are selfless and enjoying the game in its purest form. Westbrook clearly wasn't buying any of that, and here was Brody's response.
What do you think about him saying that about Golden State?
That's cute, man. That's cute.
And he later added, "My job is to worry about what's going on here. We don't worry about all the selfish guys we've got over here, apparently." As expected, tempers flared right off the bat when the two former buddies clashed on the court for the very first time since they parted ways.
Well, the official's going to have to step in sooner or later.
The beef would continue until the end of the season, but after quite some time, their feud finally simmered down and the two seemed to patch things up and bury the hatchet at the All-Star game when the two successfully executed an alley-oop, just like the good old days.
To the east. Russell Westbrook from Kevin Durant.
We've been hearing stories so far where KD came out on top with his trash talk, but for our next story, it was one of those, different ones, because this time around, things backfired on him. After winning the gold medal in the Tokyo Olympics, KD celebrated alongside with his new teammate and bronze medalist, Patty Mills, on the court. During their celebration, KD sent a strong message to the Boston Celtics, particularly to Jason Tatum and their head coach, Ime Udoka, by saying,
"There's going to be problems for the Boston Celtics this year. I'm telling you."
Well, we all know that KD's trash talk didn't age well because in the playoffs, here's what happened.
But a first-round loss and a sweep. Boston.
And after Game 4, KD changed his tune by praising Tatum instead. "I told Jason when he was in high school he's going to sell shoes, he's going to be an all-star. So for him to do this, I expect him to do this. It's no surprise to me. I expect him to be a Hall of Famer, 30,000 points, and 3-time Olympian. I expect that out of him because that's how talented he is. That's how great he is." Anyway, guys, I'm going to pivot here for just a bit. Luka Doncic is another dude that players should never trash talk. But have you ever wondered what makes him so unstoppable? If so, then just click this video right here. This dude just went into Phoenix and sucked the soul out of both Chris Paul and Devin Booker. He's insane. Anyway guys, just click the video, and like always, I'll see you on the other side.